Okay. Okay, page 105. You have it?
No, they gave me the wrong paper.
All right. V'hinei gilui kvodo yisborach. We're talking about the revelation, this galus of kvodo yisborach on the Novi. Hu yeh hapoel b'chol ma she'yimoshech lenovim b'neviyosei. The gilui of kvodo of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that will be the driving force behind all that which the Novi will receive. V'hinei mimenu yimoshech. That means first of all you have the dveikus of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That we spoke about. The Novi, the essence of the Novi is his ability to be dovuk in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'hinei mimenu yimoshech. What will come out from that? Page 105. What will come out from this dveikus? Mimenu yimoshech bekoyach hadimyoin שבנפש הנובי, ויצורו בוי עניונים, מה שיוכרח בוי מכוח הגילוי האלוהים, ולא מצד עצמו כלל. That means that literally his imagination, it ignites his imagination. But normally, the person's imagination, the koach hadimion of the person, is ignited from his own experiences. The person's experiences and thoughts b'meshech the day, that will influence his koach hadimion, which will come out automatically, let's say by night. Yeah, when he dreams, he can daydream. He'll daydream that which is influenced comes from his experiences. But this dimion, this imaginative state, is not derived. He says the Ramchal, והנה ממנו ימושך בכוח הדמיון שבנפש הנובי, וייצור בעניונים, and he will see literally pictures, מה שיוכרח בו מכוח גילוי אלוהים. But these imaginative pictures that he sees they're coming from the Gilui of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, v'lo mitzad atzmoi. They're not because of his experience. U'mitoch hadimyoinei soheim timoshech boi machshove v'askola. Shechakikoso tiyeh mikoach hakovid hamizgale. That means these imaginations, through these imaginations, he will come to an understanding, yes, which this understanding is in essence comes from the kovod of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'yishoi inyon kavua besichloi, shegam kashe yoshuv lematzovi enoishi, timotzei hayedia boi beberuro. That means that Ramchal is saying this. We have to understand that even though it's a spiritual experience, but the only way that man can experience such a thing is with his koach hadimion. So he will imagine, he will have a picture which appears in his imagination. That's not coming from his experiences. That's coming from the covered, the gilu of the covered of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So really, it comes out of a fascinating thing here. It's a scary thing, Nevius. Nevius starts with Dveikus, and there is some sort of haskola which he's receiving, but he's getting it in his koach hadimion. There's no other place in the human body, in the person's makeup, that he can perceive something which his mind can't even imagine, besides in what's called his koach hadimion. So that obviously opens up a very difficult question. So how does he know that it's not his imagination? That means he's imagining something, correct? So if he's imagining it, how does he know? How does the Novi know that it's a prophetic experience and not just a phenomenal, sense, koach hadimion? So I would like to share with you, I'm going to show you a Rambam. I'm going to show you a Rambam. One second, let me first open it up. 1 second. Let me do it. I'll do it another way. 1 second, if you don't mind. Okay. Okay. The first one who really wrote about Nevius, was the Rambam. The Rambam was the one who wrote about Nevius, and therefore all these everything starts from the Rambam. Now I want to show you the Rambam. Here it goes like this. Hadvorim shemoidim lenovi. Halacha Gimel. Hadvorim shemoidim lenovi. B'mara hanavua. The things that the Novi will be told in the Mara hanavua, derech moshel moidim loy. He's told them in a derech moshel. That means in most of the cases, the Rambam brings 11 different madregas on Nevius. But the most case of the Novi will be in a moshel. It'll come to him, a moshel doesn't mean necessarily a parable. It could be a tmuna. He'll see some sort of vision, which that vision is a moshel to what he is being told. That is, his imagination he will see in his dream state, he will imagine a picture, and that picture is a moshel for what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to tell him. But now listen to the Rambam. Hadvorim shemoidim lenovi b'mara navur derech moshel moidim loy. Umiyad yechkak beliboy pitroin hamoshel b'mara navur ve'yeda mahu. Says the Rambam. And this is a phenomenal chiddush the Rambam saying. Says the Rambam that the person, when he has the Novi, when he has the dream, and when he has the Nevius, he will imagine in his koyach, in his dimyon, some sort of picture, and in that dream state, in that dimyon, he will be given the pitorin for the nevuah. That means the explanation for the nevuah will come within the nevuah itself. But the Rambam says there has to be two different things. There's the moshel. He's getting this, the prophetic vision, and the prophetic vision will always be in a moshel. And that's why it's niklat in the koyach hadimyon. You'll imagine a sort of picture. In the same place that you imagine an ice cream. The same dream state, in that same place where you dream ice cream, he will, in that dream state, have a vision of nevuah. But in that vision itself, he will be yechkak. He will have a chakikot telling him that's a nevius. The Rambam in Moreh Nevuchim, he writes it even clearer. In Moreh Nevuchim, he writes like this. Why do we have to see so much the Rambam? Because everyone is based on the Rambam. It's all based on the Rambam. Have a look. He says like this. Kva bi'anu b'chibureinu. This is the Rambam in the Perek base, in Shah base, Perek Mem Gimel of Moreh Nevuchim. Kva bi'anu b'chibureinu. Shanavim pa'omim yisnabu ben masholim. In fact, he says most of them, besides Moshe Rabbeinu, maybe Avraham Avinu was different, but most of them, the Navim are misnaber ben Hasholim. V'zeh, shuyira dovo al tzad hamoshel. V'yifeirash loi inyan hamoshel. And it will be explained to him, the inyan of the moshel, b'mara hanavuah hu ba'atzmoi. In the mara hanavuah, he will be explained the moshel. That means he's told in his imaginative experience, this is a nevius. K'mo sheyira ha'odam chaloim, וידמה בחלום ההוא שהוא נער, he'll imagine in his dream that he's awake, וסיפר החלום לזולוסוי, and somebody explained to him his חלום, ופרש לו עניונוי, and explained to him the dream, והכל בחלום. And all this happened in his dream. וזהו אשר קראו חלום שנפתח בתוך חלום. It's like a חלום which has its פתרון within the חלום. ומן החלומס גם כן, מה שיבוד העניונם אחרורו, כמשלי הנבואה, it says, but then it says afterwards, there can be some times when you're told it in the nevuah, and sometimes when it comes to after the nevuah. But always, the Novi will have a unquestionable knowledge that this dimion which he had was a nevuah. That's what the Rambam writes again in Mishnah Torah, in Soida Torah, v'yachkak beliboy. There has to be a chakika. Why? Because the Rambam says, mankind can only imagine something which cannot be understood in the place of imaginations. It's the koyach hamedame. That koyach hamedame perceives nevuah. And because it's the same place where a person daydreams, there has to be within the Mara HaNevuah, within the Moshe Chakiko, telling him this is a Nevuah. And that's what the Rambam, now if we go over again, the Lashon of the Ramchal, which we read now, you'll see that's what he's trying to say. V'hinei, Gilu Kvodo Yizborach, again, I'm going over the same paragraph. Hu yeh hapoyed b'kol ba mashipoch Novi b'nevuah. The active force behind the Nevius is the Dveikus in Kvodo Yizborach. V'hinei mimenu yimoshech b'koyach hadimion shebenefesh hanovi. This is coming from the Rambam. This is the Rambam in Nevuchim and the Rambam in Shmoyne Prokim, which says that the Novi perceives his Nevuah with his imagination. I'm going over the same paragraph again in Ramchal. V'yitzura bo'inyonim. He will have a picture. There will be in front of him a picture in the same way that a person imagines an ice cream on a hot summer's day, or a nice soup, warm soup, when he's walking outside on a winter's day. The same thing, he will have an imaginative, he'll see a picture in his mind. From this dimion, from this imaginative experience, he will understand the haskola that Kodesh Baruch Hu wants to give him. Now, shechakikoso, the chakiko, I don't even know how, you have to tell me, Jeff, how it's translated. This chakiko, by the way, that's the same language, if you saw that the Rambam used. The Rambam, the Lashon of the Rambam was, if I can quote it again, the Lashon Rambam was, Hadvorim shemodim le'novi b'mari nevuah derech moshel modim loi, umiyad yechkak beliboy pitorein hamoshel b'mari nevuah. Yechkak beliboy, chakiko is, embedded. It's like engraved, embedded.
Okay.
I think that the dogish of the Rambam is, it's not a conscious analytical experience. It's like the knowledge sinks into him, gets embedded into him. ומתוך הדמיונוס הם תימושך המחשבה והאסכולה, שחקיקוסו תהיה מכוח הכובד המסגלה. וישור העניון קבוע בשכלוי, and the idea, that means the concept which the moshel was coming to tell him, will be קבוע בשכלוי, שגם כאשר יושב למצבו האנושי, תימוצא הידיעה לא בבירורו. So, in these few words, the Rambam the Rambam and the Ramchal have taught us something really scary, that every single time the kli, the vessel, which how do you say it? The vessel which accepts the nevius is the koyach hadimion. It's his imagination. It's the koyach hadimion which is in the person, which means it's something quite phenomenal to understand. That means that koyach hadimion is the worst, the most dangerous, and it's also the most necessary for a person either to grow in Kedusha or to fall. Both sides. The Rambam, when he talks about Koyach HaDimyon in Shmoyne Prokim, the Rambam, when he speaks about Koyach HaDimyon in Shmoyne Prokim, he actually writes about it. Here we are. Twice he talks about it in Koyach HaDimyon, in Shmoyne Prokim. He says like this: "Hachelek hamadame u hakoyach asher yizkor rishumei hamuchoshim achei ha'olmam." The imagination of a person is that which remembers that the things which a person felt strongly even after the actual physical experience is finished. The stronger the experience, the stronger will be the power of his mind to imagine it afterwards. He won't take ever in his imagination the actual details of his experience. He'll take that which made the influence on him and he'll leave out that which didn't. One second. And through the Koyach HaDimyon, what's the purpose of it? He'll be able to think, to get to be massive things, asher lo yisigom klal v'yefshar lasigom, things which he can never really get to. He'll be able to experience in his imagination. He'll imagine, listen to this, a flying ship. ובכאן תוהו המדברס התורס המגונה גדולה, אשר באו לאו פינס התורסם. It says, through this, people have made enormous mistakes, and they've taken their imagination for being absolute reality. That was their big mistake. Here he explains what the Koyach HaMadam is. Later on in Shmoneh Prokim, he says like this. He says, Averis and mitzvahs of the Torah, you'll find Shnei Chalokim Mechelek HaNefesh. Chelek HaMargish, that means in the part of the body which feels, there can be mitzvahs and Averis. V'chelek HaMisoyer Levad, and his thinking part, his intellect. Ub'shnei Elu HaChalokim yu kol Averis v'mitzvahs. Omnam Chelek HaZon, v'chelek HaMedame, his imagination, a mitzvah v'v'le Avera. שאין לדעס ולבחיר באחד משני מעשה כלל. ולא יוכל אדם בדעתו לבטל מעשיהם. He says, there is no mitzvah and avera in the imaginative experience of a person. הלא התירה ששני החלוקים האלה, רצוני לי מהזונה והמדמה, יעשו בעץ השינה פעולה מיוחדת להם, מה שכן בשעה כיחס הנפש. In the fact that the imagination works when you're sleeping, when you're not in control, means that this has no shaykhs in any way to mitzvahs and averis. So in Shmoneh Prokim, the Rambam, when he describes the chelek, which is called the Koyach HaMadam, he gives it almost no toilets whatsoever. No toilets whatsoever. Yeah? want to show you something else. Yeah. I want to show you the way the Kuzari says on the Koyach HaMedame. Achosid mitzave es HaMedame. When you get to the Kuzari, he says no. It's true. The Rambam's writing as a realist. Mitzvahs and Averas as per se cannot be done with Koyach HaMedame. But says the Kuzari, Achosid mitzave es HaMedame. Lahamtzi ha'aduro shebetzures hanimsoes shebeiza zikorin. To be mamtzi the glory of things through his imaginative experience. Ledames alov inin Eloki ha'mavukosh k'mei mayim et Sinai u'mayim et Avram v'Yitzchak ba'Maria. That means he says that the Koyach HaMedame, says the Kuzari, is necessary, even though it's not a mitzvah or avera. But the Koyach HaMedame is that which is used when you want to experience something in your mind. That means there's a mitzvah to be zeicher, to remember Michias Amalek. There's any mitzvah where there's a passion behind it. Any mitzvah where the passion adds to it. In fact, the Leshem says that without the Koyach HaMedame, all the mitzvahs, you've taken the passion out of them. You've taken the passion out of them, they've become into a dry action. But the Rambam in Shmoine Prokim has no yachas to it whatsoever. Koyach HaMedame, it could be it's something to glorify things. It's not mitzvah and it's not avera. But there's one place where the Rambam talks about Koyach HaMedame. And that's in the Moreh Nevuchim, when he talks about Nevius. When it comes to Nevius, that's where imagination is of absolute importance. There's nothing else, because that's the kli through which he will perceive the Nevuah. Perceive the Nevuah. Now, there's a phenomenal, I don't know how you learn Pshat in the Ramban. What, in Parashas Bereshis, I think I once saw this in Reb Shlomo Wolbe, in his forum. In Parashas Bereshis, HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Adam v'Chava not to eat from the Eitz Hadas. What is this Eitz Hadas? What's this knowledge that is being given? What's the knowledge that Adam and Chava are receiving? What is it? What is this knowledge that they're receiving? And the minute they got it, they realized they were naked. The minute they got it, they knew what taiva was. What is it? What was this das? So there's a Ramban al Torah. The Ramban al Torah brings from, let me show you. Ramban al Torah. Sorry, my apologies. I'm still not good at this after all these years. Okay, Ramban al Torah. Says the Ramban. One second. Here we are. Veja das teivera. The fruit of the Eitzadas gave taiva and misgal. Don't know what this means. Okay, and therefore they realized afterwards straight away they were naked. He said it's not. He said it can't be just giving taiva. What does that mean? Vayofo beinai. Until the Eitzadas, everyone did what was tivoi to do. Kashi yasu shemayim v'chol tzvam. There was no love or hate. Upri ha'ilon hazeh hayomoilid harotzoin v'achefetz shibochru oichlov bedova oy ba'afechu l'toiva l'ra. This das, what did the pri of the Eitzadas give? It gave rotzoin and chefetz. There was suddenly desire and passion. Until then, There was no desire or passion. This das gave desire of a person. ולכן נקרא עץ הדס טוב ורע. כי הדס יאמר בלשוננו על הרצון. Das is going on רצון, כלשונם, all right? One second. וכן מאמר ברזילי. So they say in the name of the Barzilai. Ha'ida ben toiv l'ra, she'ovad mimenu koyach hara'ayon. Lo haya boiche bedova v'lo kotz boi. V'haya oichel b'bli she'itam, v'shomer b'li she'is'anig b'shir. Says the Ramban. What was this das that he got? It wasn't knowledge. It was the ability to desire something. It was what's called ra'ayon. Ra'ayon is imagination. Let me explain to you what it means very simply. I can know that something is good. But when I know something is good, even though it's an avera, I can control my intellect. I know that something is good, but if I don't have cheshek for it, it's very simple to just say no. When does his knowledge that something is good and tasty create a problem? When he's walking in the heat of the summer and he's pouring with sweat, and in his mind's eye, he sees this ice cream and he feels in his imagination his tongue touching that freezing cold vanilla chocolate with a vermicelli on top, with sprinkles of chocolate on the top, and he feels his tongue touching it, and he suddenly gets this saliva pouring down him. Then, and only then, is there a real milchomes hayetzer not to go and buy that ice cream, which is not in the hechsher of badatz, but only rabbanut. Okay? That's for the charedim of us, yes? So, the rayon, the power to imagine, gives us the ability to lust and to desire. When in your mind's eye you see that and you feel, that's literally in imagination gives you the ability to, in your mind, feel the experience. You're living the experience. When you're feeling and living the experience, then suddenly there's a milchoma. That's what's the Barzilai called ra'ayon. Said Rav Wolbe, that is the koyach hamedame. This koyach hamedame, that was the das, the eitz hadas, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, Adam shouldn't eat it. And he went and he ate from it. Why? So we always understood he went to eat from it. Why? In order that he should have a mechama. Should have a mechama that be more kiddush Hashem. Correct. That was what it was. The same idea we find in the Sephonai, a beautiful Sephonai. The Sephonai is talking about, it's in the same parsha. V'hanochosh, you see it? V'hanochosh hu soten hu hayetz hara. Rav ha'hezek imiuk heyosei nira. It means the Sephonai says whenever we give in a moshel, that means a melech is aryeh, a soton is a nochosh. So we have to understand that in the physical attributes of the soton, of the nochosh, we will find a dimion to the soton. So he says, what's the dimion of the nochosh? The dimion is it's the yetzer hara. Rav ha'hezek, his damage is enormous. But he's only seen on a teeny little, he's tiny, he's very low. He's very small, but his damage is enormous. He says that's why you find an Arya is called the Melech. Every time you find like they're called, there's a reason why they're called these things. He says like this, okay. Vazeh derech koro b'zeh hamokim es yetzer hara hamachti nochosh. Why do we call him a nochosh? B'yoseh doime lenochosh asher toyaltoi b'metzius muat moed. His toyelet in metzius is very little. V'nis koirav imiut heroisoi. But his damage is enormous, even though he can't be seen. Ukvar omer zechoinem levrocha shehu Samael rochev alav. He is Samael, who is, now look at the language, who rides on him. Samael, we call that's the Satan, correct? Samael is the Lashon of the Satan. But it says the Nochosh, who's the Yetzer Hara, he's not Samael. He's that which Samael rides on him. The who is he? Who is the Nochosh? Who is the Satan? HaKoyach HaMisave Umachti. He is the power of desire. The power of desire which creates the Averis. V'yaseh zeh. And the desire, how does this desire, how is he machti him to do Averis? Be'emtzos hakoyach hamedame. The vessel which is used to create this desire which brings about the Averis, that's the koyach hamedame. Hamoivil elov dimyoinei tanugim achomrim. It brings to him an imaginative experience. Hamati miderech hashleimus amechuvim beis hakelis borach. Ki omnon koyach hamisave im dimyoinei hatanugim hamevilim. When you have the misave, the desire, which rides on the ability to imagine this experience and to feel it in your imagination, Eluhem metzavim lakoiches agash min apoelos umachtim kavonos ulotzim lekeilis borach kshelo yiskoimem olav hakoyach hasichli v'yimcho behem ka'omram zichroinam livracho. That is the koyach of Dimyan. The koyach of Dimyan is the most dangerous. Dimyan, imagination itself, looks like something which is very, very, almost saintly. You don't see it as something evil. But when the Satan rides on it, that's the koyach vavera. So the koyach hamadame is really that which drives averis. And I always understood that that's why Odom Arishan wanted to do it. He wanted to put within him the koyach hamisave, the koyach of Dimyan, because that gives him the ability to do averis. But the Lashon of the Posuk is, after the eighth vayisem koelokim, you became godly. How does that continue? So if das would be intellectual understanding, so we'd understand that afterwards. The Posuk says that they became keloikim. That means that the das, the intellect, gave them an ability to understand things which they became almost godly. But if we're talking about the koyach hadimian, if we're talking about the power of imagination, which is power of imagination, the Rambam writes, has no toyeles, no mitzvahs, no averas. And the Sefonoi and the Ramban say they were the source of all averas, because they give you the ability to imagine. So how is that to make you keloikim? The answer is the Rambam and Nevuchim, and what we're doing now. Nevius is only shaykh using the koyach hadimian. It's unbelievable. The same koyach hadimian, which really drives man to passion, makes him passionate and gives him kemat, stops from him the ability to control himself from averas. That same koyach hadimian is the kli through which the Novi is masig nevuah. It's the same imagination, to be able to imagine ideas which you can't see. That koyach hadimion is the kli of nevuah, says the posuk. Says the pasuk. Adam HaRishon had here a dual purpose. The same koyach hadimion. It's an unbelievable theological idea that you have something which brings about the greatest aveirus of mankind, and the same koyach elevates him, enables him to elevate to the koyach of nevuah. The same kli which is used for aveirus is used for nevius. It's phenomenal. The same eitz hadas which gave them the understanding that man and woman can have a taiva one for the other and they had to wear clothes. That same desire of aroyos, which was mitorer from the koyach hadimion, it's the same koyach hadimion itself, which makes them kelokim. They become godly. It gives them an ability to access nevuah. It gives mankind the ability to access nevuah. All this was the Rambam. All this is the Rambam. All this is the Rambam. And the Rambam was the one who started it. The Rambam was the one who put down to us this yisoid, that the koyach hamedame, that is what is used in the views. And therefore, says the Rambam, there had to be afterwards, in the dream, telling you, oh, by the way, this is not just that ice cone. It's not the ice cream in the winter, in the summer, or the hot soup in the winter. This is an abuse. There had to be a chakika telling me, your imagination is not playing with you. What you're seeing in your mind's eye is an imaginative tmuna. It is a picture of your imagination, but it is nevius. I don't think there's another example. I don't know if there's another example of the same koyach used for the highest and the lowest. The same koyach which brings about the ability to make aveirus, which also brings about the ability to receive nevius. And the honest truth is, if we understand it a bit better, it's because the ability to do aveirus is only to grow. We look at aveirus as something bad, and it is bad. But Adam HaRishon, who wanted to have the fight against his passion, the fight against passion he wanted for avodas Hashem. Even the passion for Aveira, was an avodas Hashem. That's what Adam HaRishon said. I don't want the passion because I want to do an Aveira. I know if I'm passionate for the Aveira and I don't do it, that's my avoda. So even the koyach hadimion, which the Sultan rides on him, like the Sephone says, which gives you this passion for Aveira, that same passion, even then is Litva Mitzvah. And this is really something which is very important, because there is nothing without passion. Can you imagine a life without having the cheshek and rotzain? Adam HaRishon, and gave us, he actually took on himself this enormous thing of eating the Eitz Hadas and getting the ability to be passionate, to dream of things. Without dreaming, where would we be? That means, admittedly, that dreaming brings aveirus to another complete. The fight, the war against the Satan becomes much more. But look what it does to us. It gives us the ability to be passionate in everything. It gives us the ability to dream. Without dreams, where would we be? If we wouldn't be able to dream about the time after Corona, where would we be today? If we wouldn't be able to dream about going back to the Beis HaMedrash, where would we be today? If we wouldn't be able to feel and to imagine the shouting and learning in 2 weeks' time, where would you be today? passion drives us in everything. It's the essence of everything that's great in the world and the essence of all evil in the world. And it's the same thing which brings about both sides. Both sides. And the spitz of it, of the Koyach HaDimion, is Nevuah. That's the spitz. So let's just finish off the parak. Says the Ramchal, Ze klal inyan ha'nevuah lechol ha'neviim. That's how all the Nevi'im received their Nevius through the Koyach HaMadama, and afterwards it was chokuk within them. Ach protei ha'madreges rabim. The Rambam writes in Moreh Nevuchim 11 different madreges of Nevuah. And all of them is not Moshe Rabbeinu. He says Moshe Rabbeinu was completely different. Moshe Rabbeinu didn't have to dream it. Moshe Rabbeinu didn't have to use the Koyach HaMadama. Moshe Rabbeinu received the knowledge as it is. He didn't have to get it through any tmuna or chaloim. He didn't have to get it through any picturing. He didn't have to have a cartoon image to give you the understanding of what's going on. He got it himself. But all the other Nevi'im, there's 11 different madregas to the way in which they received it. Ach prota madregas rabbi k'moshe nevai lefonim b'siyata nishmael. V'alakoil madregoso shel Moshe Rabbeinu olav hasholim. She'id olav ha'torah v'lo kom novi oid b'Yisrael k'moshe asher yodoi Hashem ponim v'ponim. Just want to the next paragraph. Hine. Hanovi כשמגיע למדרגס הנבואה בשלימוס. When he gets to the madrega of Nevuah b'shleimus, yasig es kol ha'magia lo b'asoga bruro u'b'idei shleimo. He will receive the knowledge and the understanding with 100% clarity. Ki af al pi שלפי הדרוגה שזכרנו בפרק הקודם, יקטומו לו הדמיונס, even though I told you beforehand that it has to go through a process of imagination and getting some sort of picture in that imaginative experience. ואחר כך יגיע אל המחשבו, כפי הדרכים שזכרנו. That means even though it's going through his imagination, but there will be an absolute clarity afterwards. Hine behagia el biru nevuasoi. Yasig, first of all, listen. Yasig hiyoisoi novi bemes. The first thing he'll realize is, this is not a dream. The first thing, I am not imagining. I am using my imaginative experiences. But I am not imagining. The first thing he'll know is, this is a Nevius. Yechkak beliboy, says the Rambam. That what? This is a Nevius. Pirush. What will he know? He yoisoi miskashe boy yizborach. Ve yoisoi yizbor shmoi miskala boy, or poya boy kol oisen apules. He will understand, I have had an experience of dveikus and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Ve yasik, and he will come to the perception. Heyois hadimyoinos asher nitztayer loy, dimyoinos nevuim nif'olim mishifto yizbor shmo yizbor shloi. He will understand, like the Rambam said, as if somebody came to him in his dream and said to him, this is a Nevius. Don't think you're dreaming it up. This is a Nevius. V'hikova boy, and there will be nechkak. I'm using the Lashon of the Rambam. You see how it's all built on the Lashon of the Rambam. V'hikova boy, and it will be nechkak within him. Yedias ha'inyan asher yikova al deshifo zeh. V'lo yishoy boy shum sofek. Lo b'nevuasoi, v'lo b'bchinoseo, lo hakodemos, v'lo yanimshokes. That means, even though he's going to be imagining it, it will be with complete, absolute conviction that this is a prophetic experience. Because besides his dimyon, there will be a giving over to him, a knowledge that this is a Nevius. The koyach hadimion is a phenomenal idea. It's a beautiful idea. The Seforno in the Ramban, I mean, that's the pshat in the Ramban, the koyach harayon. Eitz hadas, we were taught in school when we were little kids, that they were given knowledge as shtuyot. They weren't given no knowledge. They were given the ability to desire, the ability to be mitlahev, the ability to imagine something, ad kidei kach, that you have an uncontrollable desire for it. And Hashem Yazor, we should be able to use the koyach hadimion, letoiv v'le'ra, and just sit back and imagine going back to the base of Medrash. Meirdik. Shkoyach, a gute Nacht, everybody.
Shkoyach.
Well,
In the